Nestled in between two big cities in the heart of the British countryside is a farm that's been struggling in recent years. Throughout the 80s and 90s, farms in the UK would diversify their lands to make more money if the crops were no longer profitable. Things like racetracks, mazes, adventure courses, music festivals, and yes, theme parks. Slap in a few rides, add some facilities, sell your homemade ice cream, and you're on to a winner. Trouble is, where does it all end? The sky is literally the limit. This is going to be a series so long, Casey Tron will claim guys are incels using it to goon to. Hashtag topical. Hello you guys, welcome back to Planet Coaster 2 and welcome to a brand new park, which for the time being is still unnamed, but you know how this works. By the end of the episode we're going to have a name. We are in a new starter file. It's done by Shiftzie. Shiftzie, this is incredible, this is amazing. I've made some tweaks to make it UK based and to save on some of the performance and stuff, but this is brilliant. I will leave the share code in the usual places for this. And the reason that I'm doing this, by the way, is because, truth be told, I am not ready to tear apart Fantastica. I kind of looked back at it and I was like, no, this is a park that sits how it should right now, so I need some more inspiration for that one. However, I went to Alton Towers and I was inspired to develop a park over time like Alton Towers has developed. So this is the starter file, right? It's a European farm type map. We've got a main road here and we've got another road which I think in the future is going to serve as a similar access road to the one that Alton Towers has. So I think I'm going to need to get rid of the roundabout. I'm going to need to get rid of this road, or it might be a service road even. But I want the ability to be able to have like car parks here and then transport rides bringing guests to this here. So, just like Fantastica, I want to have a fully working family style park that you guys will be able to pick up and play with by the end of it. This field is prime for a future entrance because we've got this bit here that could be the future coach park, which is going to need to be the current coach park. So let me grab my terrain for this one, right? We're going to go compact dirt, blah, blah, blah. Right, so this is probably going to be some kind of coach park, car park, etc. And then inside this field is going to be the park that we are building. And it's actually bigger than you might imagine, right? If I take even one of the biggest of flat rides, you can see there's quite a lot of space for us to be able to do something with. And then this little triangle is prime for a roller coaster in the future. And then this is prime for like a pirate area with, I don't know. Now, I'm so inspired by this map. It's brilliant, right? I love it. Right, so let me talk to you about what I am thinking, because I know the first parts of these episodes are always a little bit weird. You kind of just want to see me do stuff, but I need to talk you through what I'm actually thinking, right? So American Adventure was a park that was here in the UK, and it did its thing, and it went. It's now extinct. It's no longer around. But it had this amazing courtyard style entrance, and I'm thinking that this is prime for that kind of style, right? So I kind of want it to do that. If I actually just copy this over, kind of like that, kind of like that, kind of like that, and then we copy and we do that, right? So again, I don't want this to be just like Fantastica, and this layout feels a little bit like Fantastica did, so I don't just want to copy that, but that's the inspiration that I'm taking here, right? So this is going to be where tickets and turnstiles, and then this will be like where you have gift shops and stuff. I loved the entrance of American Adventure, so I kind of want to go for something similar to that. So we also need some kind of opening day attractions, right? Things that the park would have. So I think it definitely needs a Helter Skelter for this one. I think we definitely need a merry-go-round or a carousel for our American friends. So that's for sure. I think we also need the Ferris wheel. There we go. And I think we need something a bit more thrilling, but not too thrilling. Something. Oh, I think we definitely need a tiny eye. That's for sure. What we're going to do that's thrilling. What do we reckon? Something that's not expensive, but something that's going to pack a punch. It's normally this one, isn't it? The Iron Claw, but we did that in Fantastica. As I said, I don't want to just copy that. Maybe the kickflip. Let's do the kickflip. There we go. So I think these are going to be our opening day attractions. Maybe there's going to be a playground in here as well. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Let me go and organize all of this into something, and I will see you in a minute. Okay, so it's not vastly different, but I think I'm now in a mind space where I can actually talk about what we're going to be doing. And this is what I mean by scale, by the way. Like, you put your guests in, and suddenly you realise that what you're designing is fit for purpose. Because from up here, it looks like this building's really small, and you're like, no, bigger, bigger, bigger. And then you put your guest in, and it's like, no, actually, it's fine as it is. So, I've got the rides in a configuration that I like. I have put the Ferris wheel at the back here. So let me just grab my textured terrain so I can show you or talk you through what I am thinking, right? So I want the queue line to come along here and then back again, and then I want there to be an exit path that comes here, but it's also going to back onto this bit here, right? So that's going to be like a almost like a seating area, picnic area, whatever you want to call it. I do also want to have a bit of a green in here, right? So if I take my texture here, and like I just kind of want to have a green area here. That's going to have seating, picnic benches, that sort of stuff on here. Taking inspiration there a little bit from Chessington with the, I think it's the Adventurer entrance where it opens up into a bit of a green. So kind of want that there. These two, I'm taking some inspiration from Wicksteed Park, which is a smaller family park that we've got here in the UK. And they've got these two rides almost back to back placed together. I've added in the chair swing, by the way, because I felt like it was probably missing. So in terms of how this is going to work, I'm thinking that the, let me just get a different texture again, so gravel. So I'm thinking that the queue line for this is probably going to come around sort of that side. I don't really know what I'm going to do with the queue line here, probably around the back here. I might actually look at Poulton's for some inspiration for that one, because I think theirs works fairly nicely. But I've got this gap here. I don't want it to be path. I actually want it to be some kind of vegetation or some kind of flower bed or something. Well, that means I need to find something to block this space, and I'm thinking that this is probably right for some kind of shop. So if I put that in there, and I only want it to be 4x4, and I want it to be a grab and go unit, so I'm thinking that's, you know, that's going to work quite nicely. And then this makes this area just like a nice rounded little area. And then I've got these two sitting at the back here. I think they need to go back a little bit further. But this is ultimately what I'm thinking for this area. So it would have like a little bit of a plaza area here. Maybe there's a green. I don't know. I don't know that bit yet. I haven't quite worked out that bit. That's the bit that I'm sort of like avoiding. I don't really know how it's all going to fit in. But the other thing that I do want is this kickflip down here to have... Do you remember when we did this in... the Janky Park that I did? What was it called? Oak Road in Planet Coaster 1, where the afterburner had a little bit of a plaza area and you had to go through some wooded area. I kind of want to do something like that again. So that looks rude. Let me just quickly change that. So I kind of want the path to have to go through this way, through some kind of like smaller wooded area or some kind of green or something. So then it comes to this bit. This might be a little bit too far forward. It might need to come back a little bit, but ultimately that's what I'm going for in that space. I do want to have in here some kind of feature, probably a fountain, a little bit like Fastastica was, but again, I don't want to just copy Fastastica. That's the important bit. I don't just want to make that a thing. Over here, I've put in some space for some maintenance areas, because of course this would, even a small park would still have area for maintenance. So let me pop in compact dirt, there we go. And then yeah, so this is the kind of space that I'm thinking for some kind of maintenance, and this is going to be some kind of warehouse. The plaza area here, of course, is going to be here. So this is going to be the entrance. So let's talk about facilities then, right? So of course, this is going to be tickets that are going to be here. I'm thinking toilets are probably going to be both sides. So I've added in these little extra bits, right? So if I add in Chacho toilets, we're probably thinking like that's the kind of scale that we're going for, and then I'll be able to do the same this side. Done. Happy days. I'm thinking gift shop needs to be here. So, and I'm going to use the new gift shops for this one rather than the old style gift shop. So if I grab my gift and I put in, is it going to let me do it if it's not on? I don't know if it's going to let me do it actually if it's not on a path. No, it's not. Okay, right. So anyway, the modular gift shop will be in there. And I'm thinking this needs to be a restaurant. So if I go for restaurant, and I'm thinking that the kitchen area and stuff would be sort of there, and then you'd have seating and stuff in here, and then I do want to have some kind of what do you call it, patio area out the front here. So if I go in with, is soil different? Yeah, there you go. So patio area that's going to be out the front here, maybe extends into here. I don't know what this gap is going to look like at the moment. And then the rest I kind of need to just make sense. It's probably going to end up being arcades or something to fill the space, or further grab and go units just to make that bit make sense. So that's what I'm thinking. I'd better go and like bring this together, really, hadn't I? So I will see you in a minute. Alright, we are at that middle point of the episode. It's time to show you around what it is so far. It's coming together quite nicely, and you will come to the realization very quickly that this is cheap but not janky, right? It's supposed to be tacky, and it's supposed to be dated, but it's not supposed to be grounded in the time of the date. So, for example, this looks very 80s and 90s, but I don't want this to be grounded in the 80s and 90s. I want to feel, I don't know, aged and dated. And you know how Alton Towers and Drayton Manor is all very stucco neoclassical kind of architecture, you know, painted lime plaster and that sort of stuff? It's the vibe I'm going for here, but with the simplicity of the American Adventure entrance. So I'm kind of going for that, but like you can see here, these signs look dated. They look like they would have been from the 90s in the colour and the font and all of that sort of stuff. And then this is going to be like a glass awning. I loved that in Fantastica, so I think I'm going to just do that again, but in a slightly different way. But it is that whole, yeah, it's very dated, and I love it for it. So these are the tickets. Again, it's lots of colour. And if you have a look at the desks that I've put on the inside, it is very, well, I think it's gone full circle, right? We would do this now and call it modern, but this is the sort of stuff that we would have been doing in the 80s and 90s. So, yes, I am that old. So that's kind of like what I'm going for here. And then this is just very, very simple. I have started to put some of the guttering and some of the finer details in here, just so I know what I need to put on the walls. I've said this before. Geekism has just recently said it in a video that sometimes when you do plain, it makes it look like you're bad at the game and you have to over detail. I'm in danger of that. I'm in danger of having to over detail to make it look good. But I'm digging at this as it is. Now this wall is blank because I have done the toilets this side, and basically what I've done is I've actually just made it all one building so I can just copy it and then rotate it and spam it over, right? Few little tweaks around some of the positioning of some of the signs and whatever, but then it's all going to make sense. So this is the outside of the toilets and the vibe that I'm getting. It's going to need some fine details, you know, it's going to need some vents and that sort of stuff on, but this is kind of ultimately what I'm going for. I'm happy with it, and when the roof and stuff is on, it's all going to make perfect sense. So yeah, I did then put toilets inside the park because I realised that they would be both sides of the turnstiles, as Alton Towers have got. So that's the positioning there, male and female toilets. And then this is just a nice little simple ice cream shop. I didn't really want this to be much more than this. I've used the Chacho colours, of course I have, so it's the pink, blue and yellow. And then, of course, the black for the floor and whatever. I like it, right? And it's supposed to be quite simplistic. I haven't put the kitchen stuff in here. Imagine that the kitchen stuff would be at the back here. I don't know whether I'm going to put it in because I need to check the console limit, because this park is already fairly intense, right? It's already pretty high on the piece count, so I don't want to just go adding in stuff and ruining it for console players. So I'm going to need to check that out. Likewise with the kitchen you're going to see in the main restaurant. Bit of a seating area out the front there, and I'm starting to get a feel for how I'm going to do path textures. I will talk about that in a moment because that's probably a discussion point of its own. Then the gift shop. So again, if you've seen the Geekism video where he does 3 different levels of gift shop, where he does plop and play, basic, let's just throw it down, versus the universal style, massive detail gift shop, I've kind of gone for the middle one, leaning towards the detail. So I have plopped down some of the stuff, but I have just taken away some of the items from the actual shelves themselves, and I've added my own in just to clutter it out. But I have largely kept it out of the box clinical as the game has wanted it to. There are some exceptions to that, like here, for example, where this is not functional. I've just added some stuff in. But yeah, like I'm enjoying just using the gift shop stuff. I think it looks really, really good. And in this kind of context where it's all bright and colours and simple, I think this works. I think just out of the box just works. It doesn't need to be much more than this. But as we develop the park and as we start to make it like Alton Towers, we're going to need to steer into that more detailed, more custom style gift shop. So it's almost like starting simple, then make it more detailed and make it more complex. So I'm happy with this gift shop as it sits right now, and I'm kind of happy with the outside. Needs a little bit of touching up. Some of the frameworks on the windows and whatever are a little bit weird, but it's all good. Then we've got the restaurant. So again, it's not supposed to be themed. It's supposed to be a bit cheap but not tacky. That's kind of what we're going for here. And so that's like a beach vibe, as you do. And I love my sunken driftwood and whatever. This is my 16th park, by the way. So I'm starting to run out of ideas and recycle them. And I don't know what coffee shop it was. I think it was the Royale Myle, where the coffee shop had like a platform with some seats and stuff raised up. I've kind of taken that idea, but I've used this idea of having like the overhang and whatever here. And then the ceiling itself, I kind of want it just to be the blue for the sky, but I wanted to use wood because it's that type of texture. As I said, I wanted to age it slightly. I wanted it to be dated. So, and wood ceilings are so 90s, like that was what we were doing in the 90s. So yeah. And then there's the kitchen, and then it just needs like kitting out and stuff. It needs some fine details, but it's all gonna make sense. And then over here you've got the offices, happy days, and then you've got the maintenance area just sitting quite nicely. It needs all of its pathing and whatever put down, but that's largely what I want it to be. Rides wise then, I have done the Ferris wheel. It's now in. This is kind of like the queue and how the queue is going to work. And again, there's lots of these little guests around for scale, because it's difficult to work with scale when you don't know what the scale is, right? Like, as I said before, from up here, this grass patch looks really, really small, but when you get it to a guest, this grass patch is actually quite big. So there's the playground. Don't know what floor texture I'm going to use yet, but there is the playground. It's awesome playground stuff. So I haven't even bothered to recolor it because it's so good. Then there's the other rides, and then I've just started to do some more stuff around here. So I wanted the hedges and stuff to be the fence for the carousel, and then I've just put a log boundary around here so I can just put some planters and stuff. There's the grab and go unit. It's just going to be a wooden shack unit, and then there of course is the chair swings. Happy with that. And then we've got the zipper, so that's the little plaza area that I wanted. That's going to be the path that's going to lead down with all the trees and stuff, and then that's just the queue line. So let's talk about path texture, because now we've got all of the original theme stuff back from Planet Coaster. We now have stuff like stone paths. So yes, I'm gonna steer into my comfort zone from Planet Coaster 1, and I'm gonna use this kind of effect to give a little bit of stone effect, right? So that's the main area in here. It's going to be a courtyard. However, when it comes to this, I don't want to use necessarily established path. I want it to feel a little bit cheaper. Like early days Alton Towers would have been about the gravel, right? And it would have been about the gravel paths and the gravel textures, which is fine when you're doing it like this. And I can blend it into the grass quite nicely. Great. And then I can use invisible paths to then overlay it, right? So if I come over here, go to invisible path, and there is just my invisible path going on. Happy with that. Guests are going to walk on it. However, that causes a slight problem because this is a very generic kind of texture. So I could use this. This is the established gravel path. This is the one that's already in the game. It's really good, but it doesn't allow for boundaries. Not like soft boundaries like this, where there would be a natural wear between grass and gravel. So you do have this really hard boundary. Now there's a challenge there that then needs to be overcome. I've kind of started to do it over here. That's with the queue lines. So I don't have a texture that matches the gravel in queue lines. We've only got the texture that matches the rustic queue, the brick path, and the vertical wooden ones. We don't have the gravel. So what I could do is make the queue line invisible, and then I can use the gravel texture. If I'm using this widely, I can use the gravel texture to make it gravel. But this is too loose. This is too stony. It's too, like, I don't know, terrainy. It's not established. It's not as if it's been compacted. So I've got a challenge to overcome there. I don't really know what I'm going to do. Like, I started to do it here, and I like it. I like how this looks. But is it functional? And then what do I do with the ride pads? Because I can't make the ride pads invisible. I don't think. Hang on. So go invisible path. Invisible. See? I can't do it. It doesn't allow me. So I can only do the established gravel. That one there, right? So that means then that it's going to need to be hard standing, and how does that interact with that? Short answer is I don't know. So I'm going to need to go and have a play. I don't know. I'll see you in a minute where I'll be able to tell you what I do. So the answer, as it turns out, is yes. All of it. Do it all. Let anarchy reign, because, oh my God, I love how this has turned out. And I was sort of sitting back thinking, well, what's the backstory to all of this? Like, what is the purpose of this here? And then it came to me. It's on Shiftzie's farm map, right? So these are converted stables. Of course they are. I was doing some research on Google looking at farm parks and whatever, and I was like, most of them have got converted stables. So guys, I'm going to pretend, and you're going to pretend with me, that I always said these were stables, and I won't have you tell me any other way. Consider yourself gaslit by Chacho. See, even he enjoyed it. So that's what we're going for here, right? It's an old farm park that's now had like land cleared. They've thrown in a couple of rides, and do you know what? These farm parks, they tend to have the most amazing ice cream because they come from the cows on the farm. So that's what we're going for here. Over time, we're going to build it into something like Alton Towers. You'll probably notice this bit, by the way. I didn't talk about this before, but this is the car park. I have quite literally just cleared it all down and just given it gravel. Now at the front here, I've used what they call steamrolled gravel. So this is the more established gravel. This is the hard wearing area where guests are going to go the most during the day. And then the courtyard itself has got all of the stone put down because, again, it needs to be hard wearing. But as soon as you get into the park itself, then it gets the looser, more what do they call it? No, I'm not even going to. It's anarchy. But there is also a mix as well with this. So the queue line here, you can see this is more established stone versus the gravel. And that's because I was doing some research in the local area. There's a park just up the road. And this is what they do. And I was like, of course, that just works. But then in other places, I've actually left it still being gravel. So I like the carousel, for example, here, still gravel. These don't even have a queue. And then down here, I have done the same. There's just a more established hard-wearing surface. Doesn't need to be that way. The gravel worked, but I just didn't like the texture that you could see, because this is very clean and it's very tidy. You take it. In fact, I'm just going to show you. It's probably easier because I think the terrain should still be like it underneath. Where's my path? And then go to queue, go to invisible. Do you see how the texture is? Like, it's okay, it does what it needs to do, but you can't get it neat, you can't get it tidy, and that's just the way that the texture vectors work. And it's for the terrain, fine, no problem, we'll just do that instead, and it absolutely works. So I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with the feel and the vibe of it all. Now that the trees and stuff are all in, it just gives it, this nice little view. So these are the tickets then. Tidied up all of this. Like, I didn't even think that this building needed a trim on the roof. I wasn't going to do one, and in fact it was one of the last things that I added, and it just brought it to life a little bit better than it did already. It kind of conflicts with the guttering, but I'm alright with that. I've seen it in real life. It sort of exists, so it's all good. So here's the ticket offices. They are, of course, information stands, so they're functional. And that's the reason, by the way, that I always leave this 4 meter path here. is because it allows you to put stuff the other side of the turnstiles, so guests can go through the turnstiles, come back through this way, and visit the outside of the park. So I do that in all of my parks, and that's why these are down here. But that means as well that when we start selling fast passes, because I want this park to have fast passes, when we start selling them, we've got somewhere to actually sell them. We haven't got to put somewhere in. It's already established. So this is the toilet block. I love how this has turned out. Absolutely love it. Like, it just looks so good, and I am so here for it. Now, I've noticed, and I've only just realised this, and this is quite shameful, because I absolutely should have noticed this beforehand, and this applied to Planet Coaster 1 as well, that when I've done windows on toilet blocks, I've not put them on the other side, right? So I've started to do that, and it absolutely makes sense. So that's what I've done. And then this bit here, I have just put a panel up because I've got nowhere else to put the sinks, right? If I want windows here, and I definitely did want windows in these positions, taking them away just doesn't feel right. But then I didn't have anywhere to put the sinks. So what I've done is I've put a panel up, and these would be like false windows, and then these would actually open, and then you've got the sinks and stuff down there. So happy days. I fixed the height, so that's all good. And then, of course, I've just done tidying up. So I'm happy with that, and I like how it is. And then, thankfully, it does just copy and paste quite nicely. I haven't completely copied and pasted it. As you can see, there's no benches outside this one, and I've put some vending machines. It's because you need some kind of variation. And so that's what I've done in there. A little bit of foliage and stuff down the side here. This is kind of what they do at Wicksteed, and also what they did at the American Adventure as well. So it just breaks up the area. It's not so stark. It's not so harsh. And then, hooray! We've got the pirate planter barrels back. Oh my god, have I missed these so much. Yeah, so they are back, and I absolutely love it. I can't wait to use the original themes, by the way, from Planet Coaster 1 in this park, like Fairy Tale and the Pirate, and to an extent Sci-Fi. It's going to be really, really good. It's nice to have them back. The interior toilets, that's just here, right? That they just do what they need to do. And again, I've done the windows inside there. There we go. Ta-da! So they're nice and simple. Bit of lighting on the outside, and happy days. Inside Gelato Bros, I actually kept it really simple. I didn't put the I've got a tree. I need to fix that. I didn't put the kit in. It's asking too much of the park map. I will put them in when we start to put the extra stuff in, but right now I'm going to leave it as it is, and I'm just going to call it done. But I like it. It's all settled. I don't know why he's got his umbrella up. It must be sunny. Then the gift shop. So I've just kitted this out with a little bit of like tarting up signs and a bit of decoration and stuff, and then call that done too. And then the gift shop itself inside actually looks all right. I didn't change the colours. I like the colours as they are. In fact, I made them more. I just went, have colours, all of it. So I like it, and so do the guests. They're using it, and everybody's happy. And then over in the food unit, which is now called Surfs, again, all of the touching up, door on, and all of that sort of stuff. And then inside here, I've just made it all make sense. I did want to put I said this in the previous update, I wanted to put like a screen along here and have the repeating image. I can't shrink them down enough. Like, I thought that the smallest screen we had was 4 meters, and I could have resized it to 50% to make it 2 meters, which would have been then this height. But unfortunately, no, the smallest one we've got is 8. So that's fine. Just leave it blank. Job done. Bit of posterage going on around the outside. Put a few like bit of clutter and stuff up, and then call it done. Likewise in here, I haven't done the kitchen kit. I will do, because I think it needs it. It sort of like needs it for that depth, but just for the sake of keeping this simple as a park map for you guys to download, I'm just going to leave that as it is for now. And then you've just got the area out the front here. And then it's done, right? It's happy days. I have put the barriers underneath all of this stuff so that guests don't walk through it. And likewise with the fountain as well. The playground, I kept this nice and simple. I put the vinyl path down, actually. This was an accident. I was only using vinyl as a temporary thing whilst I was putting the path down everywhere, so I knew where I'd put path down, so I could then make them all invisible. But actually, the vinyl works. And then when you change the colour of the vinyl, it actually looks like it's that rubber matting. So, happy days. I prefer this, actually, to the to the tarmac. Technique that I used in Fantastica. So this, I think, actually looks better. Colours make it pop as well. So I'm happy with that. And then using the terrain texture with invisible paths allows you to do stuff like this. This is exactly what we've always needed to do in Planet Coaster. Like this idea of being able to have lawns that you've got picnic benches or people can walk over, like just no boundary paths. I love it. This just feels right. I'm here for it. Absolutely here for it. And then the benches and stuff get used. So I'm good to go with that. Bit of foliage and stuff around here just to give it a little bit of personality. But the main bit of the foliage is this bit. I wanted it to feel like a little bit shrubby and a little bit scrubby, but not unkempt. So I wanted it to be a bit foresty, scrubby, all of the above, and this is what I've done. And I've just mixed in a few different flowers and just a few different bushes, different sizes, rotated them, all the usual stuff, and I quite like it actually when you've got the dirt and stuff that's peeking through. And then it's also true over here as well. Love me a good rhododendron. There's the rhododendron and along here too. Love it. And it just gives a pop of colour, and that's all it needs. And then this path, oh, hang on, let's get rid of her. This path is exactly how I wanted it to go down to the kick flip. I think I wanted it to be more foresty, but actually, no. This is how I ended up wanting it. And again, you've just got the gravel and stuff. I love how the textures blend I love it in Planet Coaster as well. How the textures just blend, and it just looks right. So there you go, guys. There you are. Oh, maintenance area is the other bit. Just kitted it out with lots of clutter. It's actually functional. There are staff rooms inside here. There you go, staff rooms. So if you're wanting to play with staff, then you can. And then you've got just the concrete area here, which is an actual usable staff path. So there you go. Happy days. There it is from the top. Guys, thank you so much for getting to the end of this episode. Next week, we're going to put a roller coaster in, and I think it's going to be in this area. And that's all I'm going to say for now, because I haven't decided what it's going to be. So I need to sleep on that and make a decision, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.